So let's look at this next story now, and we'll get to the details of what is happening in Zambia. We are speaking here about the remains of former Zambian President Edgar Lungu. It's been a contentious issue. The family of the former president dismissing allegations that he was poisoned, even as the South African Police Service seeks custody of his remains as part of an ongoing investigation. Lungu, who died in South Africa last June at the age of 68, is yet to be buried amid a continuing legal spat between his family and the government of Zambia over where he should be laid to rest. Lawyers and commercial attorneys say the family is cooperating with investigators but insist the poisoning claims lack credible evidence. They speak about this now with McQueen Zenzo Zaza, legal expert in Zambia. Very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us, sir.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
I don't know if interesting is the right word to use, really, and perhaps even more sad and devastating for the family, this turn of events that after more than 6 months that the former president has not been laid to rest and interred. There is now this allegation. What is your understanding of where it emanates from and why now?
Okay, thank you for that question. So this allegation has a background to it. You remember when the former head of state died in June 2025, 5th of June 2025, we had a number of opposition leaders, in particular, the Secretary General of the Patriotic Front, who was also representing other opposition political parties. He went to South Africa to go and mourn with the family. While he was in South Africa, he was invited at I think a TV station called Newsroom Africa on the 8th of June 2025. At that platform, he made an allegation that the former head of state was poisoned. This was very shocking to the nation, not only to the nation Zambia, but it was also shocking to South Africa, and it was also shocking to the rest of Africa. Because the question that begs an answer is, who poisoned the former head of state? Then after, on the same day, I think on the 6th day of June 2025, there was another prominent political figure from the Patriotic Front by the name of Dr. Canisius Banda. So Dr. Canisius Banda went on his wall and said that the former president was assassinated using some chemicals. So according to him, he was alleging that there was some malpractice at the hospital. So this is where all this allegation started. What is very important is that, or what is important for you to note is that from the time the former head of state died to date, the government has never been allowed to come anywhere closer to see the body of the former head of state. So everything has been in the custody of the family until that court matter started.
So what is then the point of what you're making, that it lends credence to those reports that he could possibly have been poisoned, or that the government should have been granted access to the remains of the former president of Zambia? Can I just get a sense or understanding of your point in raising that issue?
My point in raising this issue is that when those allegations were made, it alarmed not only the Zambian populace, it also alarmed the South African populace. And you know, as investigative wings in most countries, whenever they hear something, especially of a person who is of significance, like the former head of state, they would go into investigating the cause. So what the South African police service did was that they became proactive in investigating this matter so that they could bring out the truth of what caused the death of our former head of state. Remember, Mr. Lungu was not an ordinary citizen. So if any allegations are made to the effect that he was poisoned or he was expertly assassinated, those allegations need to be investigated.
And I hear that.
So
I
the
want
South
to go
African,
back to the point that you made prior to my asking these questions, and that's what piqued my interest. You were saying to me, after those allegations were made, remember the Zambian government was not accorded the opportunity to have access to the former president's body. Is the suggestion that had they had that access, we could be looking at a different situation, that those allegations could have been investigated?
I think I wouldn't speak on the behalf of the government. What would have happened? We wouldn't know what would have happened if the government had access. But what is important right now is that allegations were made by the Patriotic Front, the party to which the former head of state belonged to. They were made that to the extent that he was poisoned or expertly assassinated. So it's those allegations that the South African government, so the South African police service is investigating. So the South African police service need not even have a complainant in those allegations. They made those allegations in South Africa. Some of them were made on their Facebook posts. So the South African service hosting the body or the remains of the former head of state of Zambia proactively started the investigation.
Do you have a sense of
happened
when the investigations would have started? Especially, I'm trying to get, sense of what would have been deemed as credible and justifiable evidence to carry out these investigations, especially in the face of the family's dismissal of these claims. What would the police have had to satisfy in order not only to get legal access, but to present justifiable means for doing, this probe?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
What would the South African police have had to present in order to gain legal access or to justify the need for an investigation, given the family's dismissal of these claims? You are saying that the South African police would have had to follow up on this, and this is what they're doing. So I'm just trying to understand the legal steps, ramifications that has brought us to this point. The family is saying there's no such thing, but clearly the police, from what you're saying, are insistent that it needs to be investigated.
Okay, thank you. So what is happening here is that when those allegations were made, the family did not dispute to those allegations. They were quiet about those allegations, including the family spokesperson. He did not dispute or say anything against those allegations. Actually, the South African Police Service started this investigation around that same period of time those allegations were made. So what they've just done right now is to make necessary application so that they can have access to the body. Because, I mean, if they do not have access to the body, how are they going to establish what caused the death of the former president?
Okay, so what do you anticipate will happen next?
What I think will happen next is that I think the police will be given access to the body. And once they are given access to the body, they will establish the real truth as what caused the death of the former head of state.
All right, thank you.
It is very important to establish that truth.
All right.
for closure.
Thank you for speaking to us. McQueen Zenzo Zaza is a legal expert speaking to us from Zambia regarding the reports that the South African Police Service are seeking custody of the body of the former late president of Zambia, Edgar Lungu, following reports, claims that he was poisoned. Of course, the family is disputing these allegations. Brings the time to 28 minutes to 10.